Okay, I'm delighted to say that joining us now from Washington, D.C. is Daniel Serwer, a senior fellow at the Middle East Institute. Daniel, you'll have heard some of those details that we just read out. Taking a slightly broader view of all this, I suppose the million ruble question is what exactly is President Putin planning? And I've heard one opinion that says he's got three main aims. One is to test Russia's capability to invade Ukraine at short notice, if they wanted to do so. Secondly, to warn NATO off allowing Ukraine to become a member of the alliance. And thirdly, to test President Biden's resolve. Does that all sound plausible?
I think the second and third, the test of Biden's resolve and preventing Ukrainian membership in NATO, seem to be the things top on Putin's mind. It's a little surprising, the second point, preventing Ukraine from joining NATO, since assembling 100,000 and maybe 175,000 troops on the border of Ukraine gives most Ukrainians very good reason for wanting to join NATO. And Putin knows perfectly well that there's no consensus within NATO in favor of Ukraine joining. So the question of NATO is very puzzling, I would say. He's certainly testing Biden's resolve, and Biden is responding not with a threat of military force, but a threat of severe economic sanctions.
Yeah, it's worth pointing out that at any moment we are expecting more details of that meeting to come from the White House. We're expecting a press statement from the White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki. So we will keep an eye on developments there in Washington, D.C., Daniel. But we'll continue with President Putin and his aims. I mean, do you think there perhaps is a feeling that this presents a moment of opportunity for him, given that many of the other Western countries are in some way distracted, not to say, but focusing on COVID and issues like presidential leaderships in France and changing of government in Germany? Is this an opportunistic move from Vladimir Putin?
I think he does see an opportunity in several different senses. One is the distraction of the West with other issues, though this buildup of troops has certainly concentrated minds in Europe and the United States. But he also sees an opportunity to act before the Ukrainian army improves even more. It has been improving pretty dramatically, and I suspect the Russians may think that they would do better to act sooner rather than later. It's also true that an invasion during winter is preferable to an invasion in the spring because of the difficulties tanks would have in the spring with softer ground and mud and that kind of thing. So I think the threat of invasion is very real. Exactly what Putin's aims are is not clear. It's absolutely clear that he will not get a guarantee against NATO membership. It's also clear, I think, that he won't get a guarantee against Ukraine trying to take back its sovereign territory. I don't see how the West could guarantee that and still support Ukraine. So I'm not seeing the way out of this crisis yet. We'll see if it can be found in the next few weeks.
Well, so something of a stalemate then remains. You mentioned threats from the Russian side, and we know that the Russians tend not to react too well to threats being made on them. But how about the threat of those economic sanctions, which could be crippling? Is that something that is just too big a risk for Russia to take with an invasion? Do they have too much to lose?
Depends on how crippling they are. If the United States decides to cut off Russia from access to the American financial system and the European financial system, that would be truly crippling to Russia, and I think would concentrate Putin's mind in a big way. But I'm not absolutely sure that the Europeans and Americans are prepared yet to go that far. And it's we just don't know what the actual plan is for sanctions, which frankly, if they are just an extension of the existing personal sanctions on Putin's friends and cronies, that isn't going to have much impact. The sanctions would have to do real damage to the Russian economy in order to have an impact.
Okay, so we've got some way to go in this potential crisis. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. That's Daniel Serwer there from the Middle East Institute.